In my continuous pursuit of tone, I explore a chorus pedal and the best place to place it, through the input or the effects loop. Let's find out. Hey there, I'm Dan, the self-proclaimed Lonely Rocker. Thank you so much for joining me today. So on the docket today, we're talking about a chorus pedal and where is the best place to place it. Now, this is not one of those pedal order videos. There's a million of them out there, but I want to talk specifically about the individual pedal because I think this is a good exercise when you are designing your pedal board, is to really understand how each individual pedal reacts to the amplifier that you're running it through. You know, when you have your whole series of pedals, you may not get a real picture of what it's actually doing on its own. So I think it's a good idea to test them out first. It will really help you design the sounds and tones that you're going for. So we're going to do that with this Mayfly Goddess dual chorus. I recently acquired this at a guitar show I was at, got to meet the owner of this company, and this has quickly become my favorite chorus pedal. It's got two individual circuits here that are controllable by a foot switch, but if you're playing along at home, you certainly can use your own chorus pedal. So why don't we check it out with this Evo TM50? We're going to put it in the front, we're going to put it through the loop, and we're going to discuss the differences. Let's get started. All right, so let's start off with a clean tone. I've got the Evo TM50 set to channel 1. This is the clean channel. Now, this is definitely about the subtlety. So hopefully you're listening to this on decent headphones or decent speakers because the differences are going to be subtle, but they're definitely there. So we're going to start off by hearing the amp on its own, and then we'll hear the chorus pedal in the front and then in the loop. Let's check it out. The differences aren't that drastic, but there are differences there. We're talking about the finer details here. So hopefully you're listening to this with good headphones or on decent speakers. But again, listen to the finer details of that tone, and I think you'll notice the difference. So the differences there are really subtle, but I'll get into what those are in a second because I think what we need to do is use a more extreme chorus setting. Now, the beauty of this Mayfly Goddess chorus, you've got two different sides here. So I've set the B side to a more extreme chorus. So let's do the same thing and hear it back to back. So I think the differences between the two options are more obvious. Did you catch it? Let me run those two quickly back to back again to see if you can hear the difference. So really the biggest difference between putting the chorus pedal in front or in the effects loop is we lose a little bit of definition of that guitar. Now we are using the clean channel here, so the preamp itself is not giving us a lot of any distortion or a lot of saturation. There's a bit of color in there. But when you take a chorus pedal, which is a modulation effect, so that signal is moving, right? And that whole package of your guitar and the chorus effect gets thrown into the amplifier, and that's getting colored by the preamp as a whole package. As of, you know, when we're putting the guitar in the front on its own and the preamp gets to color the tone of that guitar first and then apply the chorus after the fact, we're going to maintain more definition in the picking and the shape of the sound of that guitar. Now, it's not very drastic in this case because we're not adding a lot of color to that signal because it is a clean channel, but there definitely are differences there. Where we're really going to notice the differences is when we start to get into dirty tones. So why don't we do that now? We're going to go into channel 2 on the Evo here. We'll start off hearing the amp on its own, and then again, we'll add the chorus. All right, this time I think the differences are more obvious. We've got a lot more saturation, so the preamp on this amplifier is doing a lot more. So that coloration of that effect in front or behind, we're definitely hearing the differences between the two. But let's check this out with a more extreme setting, again on the B side on the Goddess Chorus. Let's check it out. So the differences in this case are much more obvious. I mean, the amp is putting out a lot more gain and distortion. So by taking the chorus pedal and going into the input, we're taking that swirling effect from the chorus pedal, and that's getting, we're adding saturation and gain to it. So it's sort of mixing it up with the guitar. And the definition of the guitar is getting lost a little bit, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. If you're looking to create sort of that wall of sound, we're not really worried about the definition of the guitar itself. It's the overall experience. We want to feel the sweeps of that effect. Well, then by all means, you're going to go in through the input. There's nothing wrong in doing that because that's how you're going to achieve that. Now, if you want to maintain the growl of your amplifier, this Evo, that sort of that shape, that growl that this amp has, by putting the chorus pedal in the effects loop, we get to maintain that and sort of color around it, right? It's a different effect. And if you're double tracking and things like that, it's going to become more and more obvious. There's no right or wrong here. It really comes down to your ear and what you're trying to achieve. Two very different results with one pedal. All right, I want to share one more example with you. And we're not going to use this amp. We're not going to use this pedal. I want to compare what a modeler does. I've got the Fractal FM9 behind me, and I got a simple example, just taking a chorus block, putting it before the amp or after the amp, and see if the principles apply in the modeling world as they do in the real amp world. Let's check it out. So it's good to hear that the principles apply even in a modeler. By taking that chorus effect and putting it before the amplifier, we lose a little bit of the definition of the guitar itself. If we want to maintain the shape of that guitar, then we'll take that chorus and put it afterwards. But I think more so than other pedals, because people will argue about all pedals where they should go. For me, delays, reverbs, I'm always going to put them after the preamp. I just don't like the hot mess it creates by taking those and putting them into the front of an amplifier, even in a modeling situation, because you kind of lose control of it. I want to be able to hear that guitar and feel what the delay is doing to that tone. Mixing it all up, it's just, as I said, it becomes a hot mess. But modulation effects, there's an argument, I think, for both. And it comes down to what you're looking to do. You may need both. And just keep that in mind that there's really no right or wrong here, but really the differences between the two, maybe in the subtleties when you're talking about clean tones, and as you get into dirty tones, is how much of the shape of that guitar do you want to preserve? You've got two options, and that's the versatility of a chorus pedal. So hopefully I was able to demonstrate that today. And this Mayfly, the fact that it's got two different settings built onto the pedal, well, that's just value add right there, and I really enjoyed using that pedal. Anyways, hopefully that sort of defines the differences between the two, but definitely experiment with your own gear because every amp, every guitar, it's all going to react differently, but I think it's a good experiment to go through as you're looking to set the order of pedals for your rig. Well, there's my little look at chorus pedal placement. I hope you got some good information from that, maybe some ideas. Would love to hear from you. What's your process in determining your pedal order? And specifically, where do you like to place your chorus pedal? Would love to hear from you. That's what the comment section is for. And speaking of chorus pedal, well, the Goddess dual chorus from Mayfly, Pretty amazing course pedal and good little Canadian company. I'll put a link in the description if you want any more information about that. Highly recommend you check them out. That will be in the description. Anyways, I hope you did enjoy this video, and if you did, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell. And while you're down there, well, we've had this Evo TM50 sitting behind me. This has very quickly become my favorite amplifier here in the studio. Did a whole video about that, so I'm going to put that over here for you to check out. And remember, you don't need a band to rock and roll. I'll catch you in the next one.